just trying to find out what happened.
Okay, wasn't you just talking to her? Can she provide all them information to you?
Well, let me ask you this. I was just talking to her. What if she told me that you beat the out of her and you jumped on top of her and started punching her in the face? Should I just go ahead and take that?
Okay, but don't you know?
It's your side of the story. Give your side.
All these prescriptions, but you want to be great. Being great is really pushing the envelope. You know what I'm saying?
Gervonta Tank Davis has finally broken his silence following reports of his arrest and the cancellation of his fight with Jake Paul. Davis now faces a civil lawsuit alleging serious domestic violence incidents. His camp has remained mostly quiet, offering only brief comments, while promoters continue investigating the matter that's thrown Jake Paul's November 14th event into doubt.
This is a lightweight. So, by all means, if they make a few quid and nobody gets hurt, then great. But I certainly wouldn't be paying a penny to watch it. I think it's just absolutely ridiculous, farcical. Who wants to watch an exhibition? Gervonta Davis is in his prime years. Why is he wasting his time? Why is he having a rematch with the fella he got a draw with? Why is he not fighting? Why is he not going up a weight and fighting Lopez and Garcia's and them fighters? Why is he fighting Jake Paul in an exhibition? I get the money's great, but he's in the prime years. This is his best year. This is where he can become. Maybe you don't want to be an all-time great. Maybe you don't want to do all that stuff. Maybe it's...
The Miami-Dade civil lawsuit accuses Davis of multiple offenses, including battery, aggravated battery, false imprisonment, kidnapping, and intentional emotional distress. If proven true, these claims could have major legal and career consequences. For now, the case remains a civil matter. No new criminal charges have been filed in connection with it.
WBC lightweight world champion Gervonta Tank Davis was arrested earlier this week for closed fist slapping his daughter's mother. What's a closed fist slap? Is it like this? Bro, you can't be closed fist slapping women. You can't be slapping women at all. But don't you know your hands like Thor's hammer? Bro, you can go to jail for even flicking somebody, man. Don't you got a fight coming up? Or are you trying to ruin your career?
Davis has yet to make a full public statement. His coach, however, told reporters that Tank is doing great and that they're trying to figure out what's going on, a cautious reply aimed at avoiding further media frenzy. Meanwhile, Jake Paul's most valuable promotions confirmed they've launched an internal investigation, stating that they condemn all forms of violence and will determine next steps after reviewing the facts. Though the fight is still technically on the schedule, insiders claim the November 14th event is almost certainly cancelled. Journalist Dame Mara posted on X that she's 80% sure the bout won't happen. Originally set for Atlanta's State Farm Arena, the fight later moved to Miami, a matchup designed to blend social media stardom with traditional boxing spectacle.
When a fairly novice Jake Paul made a wish list of future opponents, and right in the middle of that list was Gervonta Tank Davis. Many laughed at the time, and some still can't believe we're here. But these two young men are the face of boxing for Gen Z and Gen Alpha. They are the two biggest boxers in America, and they're putting it all on the line. One has the speed, the skill, the accuracy, and the one-punch knockout power. The other has the size, the force, and the unbreakable confidence to make this must-see Netflix. The size difference is...
The rules themselves added intrigue. Davis, a natural lightweight who typically fights at 135 to 140 pounds, was set to face Paul at an upper limit of 195 pounds with 12-ounce gloves. Davis openly questioned the fairness of the setup, citing the weight gap and unconventional conditions. Despite the concerns, the fight promised blockbuster attention and potential record-breaking sales.
I want to watch is Tank Davis versus Jake Paul. I want Tank Davis to knock his block off. I'm sick of the Paul brothers, both of them. I can't stand either one of them. And I know I'll get pounded with emails. He's just jealous. No, I'm not jealous of them. I could care less how much money they make. I don't like their attitude. I don't like the way they conduct themselves. I don't like the way they think, you know.
Across social media, boxing fans have accused Davis of ducking elite opponents like Shakur Stevenson and Teofimo Lopez in favor of chasing an easier, more profitable fight against Jake Paul. Many argue that money, not legacy, is driving his recent decisions.
never fight no Shakur Stevenson, no Keyshawn Davis, no Teofimo Lopez, no, none of them dudes. You know what I'm talking about? We gotta think and look at Tank Davis's whole career. He done made some bread, but at the end of the day, all that bread that he made, when it's all said and done, he ain't gonna get no respect from his peers, because we gonna look down his resume and we gonna be like, he was trash, he was some trash, he was some trash, he was alright, but he was never like that. He was okay. He was some trash, he was some trash, he ain't.
Before the Paul fight emerged, Davis was expected to rematch Lamont Roach after their first bout ended in a controversial draw. That plan changed when the Paul offer came through. A $50 million payday and worldwide spotlight were hard to ignore. Analysts say this reflects a larger trend in boxing. Big money crossover events are replacing legacy-defining matchups. For Davis, the fight was as much about global exposure as proving skill.
Division where he's got killers all in his division. You know, Shakur, Haney, who's 147. You know, you look at Tio, for example, Keyshawn, and then you choose to fight someone like Paul. Surely that's a concern when you do look at it like that.
Yeah, but again, it's the world we're in. If you can get a huge amount of money to fight someone who's never boxed really before, you're going to do it. You know, Floyd Mayweather boxed Logan Paul with a huge weight disparity.
He was done by then.
I know,
he was done. Like, this is an active world champion.
But it's the world we're in.
Yeah.
And that's the truth. Now, when it comes down to it, it's just like Conor McGregor fighting Floyd Mayweather. Two completely different sports. It was the biggest pay-per-view in recent times, wasn't it? Maybe if ever.
Those are like different comparisons, though, if you think about it. Do you not like?
Yeah, but the sport's in a wild place, isn't it? That's just, like, I'm just like the reality of where we are, you know. And I can't really say much when we're talking about Jake Paul fighting Anthony Joshua at the same time.
Yeah.
You know.
Do you think Tank should get stripped of his title?
Yeah, I think anyone who, just in general, doesn't defend their title to do something else should get stripped, because it shouldn't hold the belts up. You know, in any, like, I think that should be the reality in anything. You know, if you're not going to defend your belts, or you're not defending, sometimes there's the rules. Obviously, if you fight for a belt at a higher weight, you can retain the belt until there. But if you're not, don't have intention of defending the belts, you shouldn't hold the belts up. People should get the opportunity to fight for them.
What happened with the failed negotiations between AJ and Jake Paul?
I think anything's still possible. That was always discussed for next year. You know, this fight's November, early part of next year.
Former world champion Carl Froch didn't hold back, calling the entire situation an absolute joke. He claimed Jake Paul was close to finalizing a deal to fight heavyweight Anthony Joshua, a legitimate test, but instead chose Davis, who was nearly half his size. Froch said this proves Paul prioritizes spectacle over real competition. Many insiders agree, arguing that fighting Davis offers Jake attention and safety, while a Joshua fight would have been a true challenge.
But the fight against Jake Paul ain't going to happen anyway. It ain't going to happen. We can all believe it. Jake Paul.
Eddie Hearn said it's 99% done.
Because you know what? Jake Paul's done a great job in hustling Eddie. Yeah. He's going to get so either Eddie's in on it, or he's like this young man hustling. Yeah. And so the kids kidded the kidders.
Well, listen, we've had a chat, we've caught up, we'll have another chat as well in a...
We'll do some sunbathing, man.
Days, bit of sunbathing, top up the town.
Yes, I do.
As well.
Blick is the number.
Let us know in the comments below who you think wins the fight and what Anthony Joshua should be doing next. Do you agree with us, do you disagree with us? Let us know in the comments below. This has been another episode of Froch on Fighting. Got the main man here, Johnny Nelson, aka
Blickman.
We'll see. He said it, not me. We'll see you on the next episode. Take care.
Just here at Los Naranjos in Viva, España, and I found out that Gervonta Davis is now fighting Jake Paul. So Jake Paul was supposed to be fighting AJ. Eddie Hearn announced 99% done, which we just spoke about. What next for AJ? Potentially Jake Paul. But it now looks like that Jake Paul is fighting one of Anthony Joshua's legs. He's fighting Gervonta Davis, somebody who's a quarter of his size. I don't even know what's going on. Has Eddie Hearn been...
Nakisa Bidarian, co-founder of Most Valuable Promotions, has pushed back against critics who say Jake Paul's size gives him an unfair advantage over Gervonta Davis. He insists that size alone won't decide the fight, especially against a talent like Davis, and explains that the heavier catchweight simply reflects Paul's relative inexperience, not an attempt to gain an edge. Bidarian also revealed that this matchup wasn't random. It was in development long before, originally set to follow a proposed Canelo-Alvarez fight that fell through. According to him, Davis had been pursuing Paul for years, and when the Canelo plan collapsed, the path to Tank became clear.
They're gonna happen November 14th.
Whatever weight they want, man, they're talking about it, and whatever it is, it's gonna be a definitive outcome. People can talk about pro, exhibition. We're gonna make sure this is as real as it's real.
Why was it, just out of curiosity, why is it not a professional bout and why is it an exhibition? Because I'm sure Jake would have taken the professional bout.
Nothing's been communicated as yet in terms of what it is, right? Similar to, if you remember, with Paul Tyson, when we announced it, we didn't have the weight, we didn't have the rules, particularly in terms of the number of rounds, the minutes, the gloves. It's gonna be the same thing here.
Gotcha. Can you just offer us any insight as to how these negotiations went? The reason I ask is because I remember back in March, I was at Tank's fight, and after his fight in his press conference, he was asked, next opponent. He said, well, my next opponent might have been in my locker room tonight, and people asked him, was it Jake? He made reference, he made allusion to. Has this been an ongoing thing, and has it ever, been at a point where it wasn't gonna happen and came back, or was this always the plan?
Always been the plan for Jake to fight Tank once Canelo didn't happen. And to Tank's credit, he's a real bad dude, and he's been calling out Jake for 3 years. And people, it's funny how now they're saying size matters, Jake is big, but for so long it's been Tank would kill Jake Paul.
Bidarian acknowledged the obvious physical disparities, Jake Paul being taller, heavier, and having longer reach, but emphasized that Davis's technical mastery far outweighs the size gap. Tank's resume speaks for itself, over a decade as a pro, multiple world titles, a near-perfect record, and a reputation for knockout power and elite timing. He's proven adaptable across styles, while Paul, despite clear improvement, has yet to face a fighter of Davis's caliber.
Obvious, but so is the skill and experience difference. One man has been doing this for 23 years, since the age of 7. The other picked up the sport 5 years ago and has virtually no amateur experience. So the size difference is what makes this plausible. The king of the jungle here is Tank Davis. He is the lion taking on the young elephant that is Jake Paul. The lion is looking at me like he's about to eat me. The lion is fast, he's fierce, and he's fatal when he strikes. But the young elephant is big, powerful, and hard to knock down. And come Friday, November 14th, the jungle will be set in tropical Miami, Florida, and the world will be watching.
Meanwhile, Joe Rogan offered a more cautious take. He credits Jake Paul for energizing boxing and drawing younger audiences that promoters had struggled to reach. But Rogan questioned whether Jake is ready for someone still in their prime. Jake's biggest wins came against retired fighters or athletes from other sports, not active world-class boxers. Davis, Rogan said, represents everything Jake hasn't yet faced: elite speed, precision, and championship-level power. He admires Jake's courage, but wonders if business success can withstand real combat reality, because once the bell rings, there are no followers or cameras to take the punches for him.
Fights, like, what if Jake Paul knocks one of them out? Like, what if you get a guy that, like, hasn't been tested and maybe has some promise and maybe gets wrapped up in the hype and maybe gets a little nervous, and this is his first chance at a big show, and Jake Paul can crack.
Yeah.
100%. That knockout of Tyron Woodley is legit as fuck. He can crack.
But Eddie's point in that interview, and I think the point that just about every boxing aficionado would say, is that Tyrone.
Former two-division world champion Paulie Malignaggi admitted the matchup completely surprised him. While Jake Paul has made a career out of unpredictable opponents, pairing him with a lightweight like Davis still felt extreme. Malignaggi said the move shows how far Jake is willing to stretch the boundaries of modern boxing. Despite Paul's physical edge, he emphasized that Davis's talent and accomplishments stand above it all. He praised Tank's decade of dominance, saying his legacy continues to shape boxing at the highest level.
Because he's the bona fide world champion. I don't care if he's much smaller. I think Jake Paul has sort of plateaued as far as where his boxing is concerned. It's rather low level. He's big, he's physical, he's strong, he can hit. So there is that risk. Davis, at lightweight, you're in a moment where it's too physical for you, you can clinch. against the heavyweight where you clinching. You ain't getting out of that corner just clinching anymore if you run out of space. You know what I mean? So it's interesting. But Davis, listen, there's a lot of talking points that I'm sure we'll get into when this gets closer to the fight. Davis can still punch a lightweight, can drop a heavyweight. You know, there's a lot to gain there, right? If Davis knocks
the answer is yes.
If Davis drops Jake on his ass, as much as Davis is the one with more to lose, it's still a highlight moment.
A visual that will stay forever.
Yeah, but if you get dropped, even if you're smaller, you're still a world champion in multiple weight classes. If you get dropped, you know, what's the look? What's the feel? On the inside, as boxers, me and Chris Algieri, the champion, and you, Jim, you have fight experience, so we know that the risk is a big guy that big hits you. You're probably going down if you're a small guy if he hits you clean. So we know the risk, but how does it look to the public eye who don't understand that? You know what I mean? The public. So there is a lot to lose, though. There's a bit to gain. I wouldn't necessarily have an issue with this had Davis's career arc been one that benefited boxing. Davis was manufactured and put into a position where he's supposed to benefit boxing, and I don't think he has. I think he's hurt boxing. So by giving him this reward, that's my problem. Why are we watching this? Why don't you?
A former Jake Paul sparring partner, however, was far less diplomatic. He bluntly predicted that Davis's power will be unlike anything Jake has ever experienced. He said Jake's confidence might come from beating older MMA fighters and past their prime boxers, but Tank is different. When Gervonta hits, he said, he doesn't just land, he damages. The ex-partner believes Jake will quickly realize he's entered a level beyond his current experience. While many respect Jake's risk-taking, he warned that every fighter eventually meets their breaking point, and Tank Davis might be Jake's.
And like every single time, people said that Jake would get finished or he would lose a fight, he obviously proved everybody wrong. But I genuinely believe this time, I think that, with Gervonta's boxing IQ and him having Jake come down a little bit in weight, I think Gervonta will beat him, honestly. I think Gervonta will hurt him. I think he'll just use IQ. He'll tire him out a little bit. And, I think he'll land. Gervonta knows how to touch his opponents. But it's interesting because when Floyd fought Logan, the size really, really made a big, impact. And you saw Floyd struggle, against a big, Ohio corn-fed, wrestling strong dude. And, I've sparred Jake and Logan before, and, they train hard.
You're picking Tank by knockout?
Look, I sparred them years.
UFC legend Daniel Cormier offered a more balanced view. He credited Jake Paul for evolving the sports entertainment model, pointing to his Netflix bout with Mike Tyson as proof of how spectacle can coexist with legitimate competition. Cormier believes Jake's dedication to training and his willingness to take risks make him more than just a YouTuber turned boxer. He's reshaping how the sport connects with modern audiences. That, Cormier said, is its own kind of victory.
Big numbers. Jake Paul fought against Tommy Fury. Big numbers. Jake Paul, who I believe, and I have told you guys this time and time again, he's much better than people give him credit for. One, Jake Paul is not an amateur fighter, like some try to say. Jake Paul has money, so Jake Paul is getting trained by the best boxing coaches that money can buy. He's full-time boxer. There are a lot of people that say he may do some other stuff. I don't know who he was gonna fight that was saying that he was juiced up and he was ignoring him. Or was it Logan Paul? One of them. But at the end of the day, this kid's training to be the best fighter in the world, or the best as he can be, and he understands what losing would do to the perception of who he is in fighting. We were yelling so much about him fighting someone. Fight somebody your size. Fight somebody, a real boxer. Stop fighting MMA guys. There were so many things that people were mad about in regards to his level of competition and the people he was competing against. Well, today, we learned that Jake Paul has his next opponent. His next opponent is by far the most credentialed guy.
So, what do you think? Is the Jake Paul versus Gervonta Davis fight falling apart due to low demand, or is it all part of a larger business strategy? Drop your thoughts below.